Hello and welcome back to Dinks with Debt. My name is Andrea, my husband's name is Anthony, and we're a double income, no kids family on a journey to get our finances under control and tackle our consumer debt. All right, so we are doing the budget by paycheck method that the Budget Mom teaches, and essentially you use one paycheck to pay for all the expenses within a given period. In our case, I get paid once a month. My husband gets paid once a week. And so a lot of the big bills come out earlier in the month, and that's what we use, my salary for. And then at some point during the month, we run out of, essentially that money, and then his paycheck sustains us for, the weekly bills that come out, as well as things like our, toll expenses, gas for the car, groceries, that kind of thing. So today's update will cover January 23rd through January 29th. All right, so now I'm going to go over our account tracker for January 23rd through January 29th. One of the first things that I will say is that we had another unexpected expense come up, but we also had an unexpected windfall. And so I'm going to go over that right now. So we already established that our rollover balance was $211.91. Anthony's paycheck came through at $925.18. And then we made some adjustments by transferring money from our lunch accounts to pay for some overages and a lunch expense that was paid out of our checking account, which is the wrong account for lunch expenses. So we sent money back from savings to our checking account to correct those purchases. We had a copay that came out at $30. We had our regular lunch savings, lunch money was transferred to our lunch accounts for $90. That's Anthony gets $75, I get $15. And then you'll see here, we had a reimbursement come through for a total of $363.81. Now, when this came through, I had to really think back what this was for. And I realized that this was a reimbursement that I was waiting for before Christmas. It was actually from an expense at work that I paid for back in October. And so when this finally came through, excuse me, we were not planning on that, income. And so we didn't really have a plan for it. And you'll kind of see that kind of impacted some of our decisions, later. But that reimbursement came through. We went ahead and sent our Christmas savings of $35 to our credit union account. And then you'll see here that unexpected expense was a car repair. Now, during the week, I had some check engine lights come on, on my way to work. And then on my way home from work, the little light that, was showing something was wrong changed. And so there were more of them that were popping up. So it was a really scary kind of situation. We know that my car is old. It's a 12-year-old car, 12 or 13-year-old car at this point. And we know it's going to need to be replaced in a couple of years, but we are trying to make it last as long as we can, obviously. So Anthony, being the handy guy that he is, was able to hook up my vehicle to the diagnostic tools in his shop, his garage, and found that there were a couple of sensors that needed to be replaced. So he started doing some research on some car repair forums and stuff, and learned that those sensors can also impact some other part. And so he figured, while he's in there taking these things out and replacing them, he might as well replace that other part that is connected in part of that system. And so those things that he needed to do this repair totaled to $100.86. We don't have a car maintenance category yet, but we've established that's something we want to, do moving forward. So you'll see that in February. But for now, we put that in our household category. That morning, so these expenses actually are out of order. We went to have brunch, so a late breakfast and discuss what we were going to do with this reimbursement. And then after we got back from having brunch, that's when Anthony read the error codes and then realized, we need to take care of a couple of things of maintenance on my car. So we did not have going out to eat in our budget for this week. It was not a, dining out week. We made some adjustments so that we weren't going out to eat every week, but every other week. And this was not a week that we had allocated money for that. So we dipped into that reimbursement to cover that expense of eating out. We had our car insurance payment draft from our account. So this technically is a sinking fund, but this goes into our savings at our credit union, and then we pay one lump sum, twice a year, so every 6 months. But that savings, the sinking fund, came out at $245. We also had our HOA savings draft from our account and get sent to our credit union savings at $80. And then while we were out doing the errands, we had to go to a couple of different shops to get the right parts. We stopped at a convenience store and got some fountain drinks and a snack. So that totaled $5.96. We did not plan for that. And we technically, it was eating out. So I put that in our dining out category. I did a small fridge restock. I've been doing some meal planning, both for lunches, my lunches, and our dinners. So I just needed some, produce and some other things, but it totaled $56.06. And then I did have to purchase some paper goods for the house. So toilet paper, paper towels. I did purchase some cleaning supplies and some other non-consumables, but that totaled $30.99. We went to Costco and Anthony refilled his truck with gas, and that totaled $66.60. And then again, that reimbursement was kind of burning a hole in our pocket, and hopefully y'all can see that. Our decision was to order pizza for this night, and we used that income to pay for that since it wasn't in the budget for this week, but that totaled $27.71. We had our trash and water bill come out at $70.66, and then our Apple subscription, this one I believe is for one of the watches, and so that was $5.35. But we started with a balance of $211.91, and then we had expenses totaling $877.91. We had some deposits of $1,333.12. And as of the end of the day, end of business on January 28th, our account balance was $667.12. All right, so you'll see this is kind of broken down by category. I know it may be a little hard to see, but this I ended up increasing the font on this worksheet so that it's easier to read for you all. But our category for gas for the truck was $66.60. I didn't have to refill my car. Neither of us spent any money for personal spending. The auto parts and paper goods totaled $131.85 for household expenses. Groceries were only $56.06. Our lunches were exactly $90. And then we had, unbudgeted dining out. So that totaled $67.39. We didn't have any prescriptions that came out. So there wasn't any expenses there, but we did have a copay for a doctor appointment for $30. And then the unplanned expenses, I'm not sure, if the auto stuff should have gone there since we don't have a car maintenance category, but we'll figure that out for February's budget. But this is kind of where we left off. Okay, so we were expecting a rollover of $211.91, and that's what ended up happening. We did not plan for a reimbursement, so we were operating on $1,136.91. That's what we were expecting. We ended up with that reimbursement, and so what I ended up doing was adding this amount at the end of the worksheet, so you'll see that here in a second. But we ended up, pretty spot on with what we were expecting for Anthony's paycheck. And so we were actually operating on $1,137.09. So literally, a couple of cents over. Our bills ended up being lower than expected because we thought we would have a toll charge come out and lawn service. But if you remember the week prior, we had that big Arctic freeze. So we didn't need lawn service this week. We pushed it into the next week. And then because I wasn't driving, school districts were closed. And so I wasn't driving to work on those several days. And so I didn't have as many tolls. So we didn't have to recharge that account. But our car insurance came out, like I mentioned, the trash and water, and our Apple subscription. Now we were expecting the service fee for our lunch accounts, but for $20, so $10 each account, but nothing got drafted. And so that is what ended up making our totals lower than we expected. So we had more money left over. $1,137.09 minus $321.01 left us with $816.08. Now, moving that into our debt category or our debt expenses, we didn't actually have any debts come out this week. So if you remember from last week, we have two of our biggest credit card payments come out at the same time. And so I'm thinking I may want to spread, ask to move the date of one of those into this week, since it seems like this week doesn't have any debt payments. It may help to kind of ease the, financial impact of that expense in week 3. Now let's go on to our variable spending. So when we bring that, carryover balance to the top, we were expecting to fill up Anthony's truck, my car, personal spending of $20 a piece. We were expecting to spend $20 for household expenses. Our groceries, $75. Lunches were $90. This is what I was saying. We did not plan to eat out, for, dinners and that kind of thing. And then prescriptions, we allocated $16 and co-pays at $31. And then an unplanned kind of buffer of $20. Now, what actually happened was we spent less on our gas for the truck. I didn't refill at all. Neither of us spent any money for our personal spending. And then our household, we did go way over. But again, that's because I allocated the car repair into this category. Our groceries were under budget. Our lunches were spot on. Dining out was where, another area that we went over. We didn't plan to eat out, but we had that windfall, so we took it upon ourselves to eat out. We didn't have any prescriptions come out, and then we had the one copay that came out. I didn't allocate anything or assign anything to the unplanned category. So we did come in over budget, but not by much. And so if we had actually spent all those areas, we would have been way over budget. We ended up spending $441.90 out of our variable spending. And so that left us with a balance of $374.18. And then we had our Christmas savings and HOA dues savings, and that was $115. That left us with $259.18. And then this is where I added in the reimbursement. So I didn't add it to our income at the top, like at the start. But once I got our final total for the week, which was positive, I was able to add in the reimbursement that we got, which was $407.94. And that left us with a total of $667.12. And that is what our account reflected at the end of business on January 20th. All right, so that brings us to the end of week 4. So we're all caught up and our balance matches what is in the account. So we're excited to start week 5, close out January. We survived. And then kind of adjust some things and get ready for February. The question I want to leave you with is, how do you close out your, monthly budget if the month falls in the middle of one of your weeks. So for example, I believe January ends on a Friday, so that's 2 days into our week, since our week goes from Thursday through the following Wednesday. The reason I ask is because when I set up the January budget, it was from essentially January 1st through January 31st, not keeping in mind that our weekly budget goes from Thursday to Wednesday, and that the end of the month was going to fall in the middle of that week. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not making things harder for myself. And now that I kind of have a hang on how to, audit the account and make sure that things are reconciling, and the numbers and everything are correct. I just, want to make sure that I'm not making things harder on myself, and so that we get discouraged by seeing such small numbers. But if there's anything that you can impart, any wisdom or any experience that you'd like to share, I'd be happy to listen. Essentially, just kind of read your suggestions. I really do appreciate all of you who have left comments, and whether it's encouraging or if you had some constructive criticism to lend, I welcome that and appreciate your comments too, because you may be coming from a place or a perspective that I don't yet have. And I am willing to learn, and so is Anthony. We read every single comment and we talk about it during our budget meetings. So if there's anything you wanted to share with us, or have us consider, or whatever, please feel free to leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. But thank you so much. I'm going to leave it there. And just appreciate you being here for the journey. And I look forward to catching you up on week 5 and closing out the month of January very soon. Bye-bye. Have a good one.